Good evening, folks, and welcome to the YouTube Model Builders Hangout tonight for December 22nd, 2015. Tonight we have Barry and Mike's MRR Tech Show, and our live Hangout presentation will be a short one tonight. We'll keep it about an hour. We're all going to be on festive holiday lighting for your structures and trees and such, and different things you can use to simulate Christmas lights if you so desire to have a wonderful winter holiday scene somewhere on your layout, or even for under your Christmas tree this time of year. And just to remember, our sponsor is the YouTube Model Builders, your source for free model railroad resources. So we have our free online e-magazine, courtesy of JD and his great team. We have our live chat presentation hangouts here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And once a month we have the live show of myself and Bill Graham and a host of visitors and guests. So everything can be found out about it at www.youtubemodelbuilders.com. And don't forget to go there and click under the eMag and subscribe so you get notified as to when the eMag is released every 2 months. And also we'll be using it in the future for notifying people about different events coming up and everything. So please go and subscribe. That way you can be well informed about what's going on in the YouTube Model Builders community. So tonight, me and Mikey would talk a little about some different types of lighting you can use for, like I said, for structures, for trees, etc. Something to simulate holiday lighting on your layout. I mean, this could be used anywhere you want, your tree, on your actual layout, etc. A lot of people do under the tree layout, so this would be a perfect thing to use for that. My American Flyer layout is going to have a bunch of lit buildings that will have Christmas lights, and I'll probably use these things to put in some of the trees and everything. So we'll give you a quick show of a few things here tonight. Oh, we got a couple of things from Johnny and from Dwight Christman on Merry Christmas. Well, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas myself. So, Mikey, what do you got for us tonight here?
Well, Merry Christmas to everyone, of course. Yeah, no, basically what I have here is a little string of LEDs, and they're battery operated. Got 2 little batteries there for a guy at the Christmas tree store for it was like $4, and what's nice is they light up like this, and they're kind of cool because you can wrap them around your little bottle brush trees to do the old Christmas decorating. Or if you get this one here, it actually has these big stars on it. I don't know if you can really see that.
Yeah, we can see them pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the star shapes and all. So what I ended up doing was actually cutting off the yellow star and splicing it on my tree, so I have a star on the top of it. I'll show you that in a second. But they also have strings with the 0402 surface mounts. They're encapsulated in epoxy, so they'd be good for like doing a used car lot. Where they have the light strings hanging between the poles, that kind of stuff as well. Would be a good application for it if you don't want to go the festive route.
Yeah, that's what I have right here, Mike, is like these right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, these lights here, these are just all small surface mounts. You can see they're just encapsulated in a little bubble of epoxy to protect them.
Right.
And it's solid gauge wire. In this case, the wire is green color, so you could use these to even wrap around trees.
Yep. Yes, so this is.
And this one I have costs about the same price, but it's got the steady state, and then it's also got flashing mode, and then I can do the fade in, fade out with this one. So you can get all kinds of lighting effects with this, and it was only costing $4.44 to buy it, And the nice thing was you could take this, like Mike has there, or this, and use it stringing across your streets.
Mm-hmm.
Like banner lights.
Right, you can do banner lights, you can do Main Street USA, you can decorate Main Street for the holidays, the whole 9 yards. You got your Christmas tree here, the old bottle brush, and boom, comes to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for big outdoor trees, the ones with those stars really would look nice like that.
Hmm.
But for smaller trees, you could use the individual lights like I have on the string I have here, and they would look really nice wrapped around some nice big pine trees in the center of your town square. So there's definitely a lot of uses for these things. See, like Mikey doing this one here.
Yeah, check this one out. This is just a regular pine tree with the 18 bulbs, and there you go. It has a couple dark spots there. You have to fiddle with it a little bit too to make sure you got no real dark spots. But
Yeah, I mean, you could take two of the light sets and just wrap them
yeah, actually, yeah,
separately.
this tree could probably use the at least another half string worth of lights. Instead of the
Yeah,
18, you probably could use like 24. Definitely
and
two strings you could make work.
yeah, and the way the one mic has, the way it's wired is it's 3 volts like the normal LED. So you could even splice multiple strings together,
Hmm.
you know, and then cut the end off one and then solder them together and just keep wrapping around, use them for whatever you want. Mine operates at 4.5 volts because it has the flasher circuit, but it's still only putting 3 volts out to the LEDs. So, and they
Right.
have these in color lights too, right, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Basically, with the 18 LED strings, they come in white, red, blue, green, yellow, and then with the mixed colors, they had the bigger shapes, the stars. I think they had like moons and crazy stuff like that. So if you want different color strings, I mean, actually for a bigger tree, it might make sense to do a red string and a white string. Have a little bit of
Yeah, this is
variation.
true. Yeah, yeah.
That would be kind of cool. The thing too is with the simple strings, the 3 volts, like Barry said, you can just keep on splicing and going. When you get the fancy circuitry, you have to worry about overdriving the chipsets and basically how much current is being used in the circuit. So if you have the fancy modulation and all that craziness, it probably makes sense just to have two separate controllers, just so you don't blow out your circuitry.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, and that way you get more, different flash variations if you want to do like a flashing Christmas tree or something. So there's a lot to be said for that. Now here's
Dude, homie,
something that
homie, don't
I
twinkle.
what's that?
Homie, don't twinkle, dude.
Oh, we
Homie,
don't
don't do
drink.
twinkling.
Well, here's something I came up with. Looks might be like it might be interesting. I had one of these that I pilfered from my stepdaughter, and you can buy these for dirt cheap. Bring this up for a second. You can get these different color fiber optic hair clips. Like it says here, you can buy them $1.30 a piece. They have a little watch battery, and you can get them in all these different colors. And then you just take the fiber optic strands and drill holes and put them through like around the gutters on your house, and make it look like real miniature Christmas lights. It says that these are definitely a handy thing for doing holiday lighting effects. Because you can even put these inside of a small Christmas tree, like in the window of your house, and have it light up. So for $1.30 a piece, just experiment with it. There's a lot of fun to be had in doing it. So
Hmm.
I just couldn't remember where. I couldn't find the one I had tonight, but oh, I think I know where it's at. I put it aside to use it for some lighting on a submarine model, or like control panel lighting for red indicator lights. So you could use these like dash lights in a car, anything you want. There's a lot of different uses for these little fiber optic clips. And I'm sure you could find the voltage of the battery and then hook it to a power source. You ain't got to worry about replacing batteries. But all it is a little LED in the base with a bundle of fiber optics. So there's a lot of uses for that for sure.
Yeah, well, like we were discussing earlier, though, Barry, too, when you do hook up a strand of lights like this to the transformer, you got to throw a resistor in there too, so you don't blow up the LEDs. The
Yeah.
batteries have built-in internal resistance, Essentially, an LED is greedy. It wants to suck up as much current as somebody will give it.
Yes.
And the resistor kind of slows it down and says, chill out here. And transformers, they don't have any resistance. It's just, from the get-go, it just goes full out. So you would have to throw like some sort of resistor in there. And the thing is, too, you can kind of tune the resistor to get the brightness you want. So but that's just something to be aware of.
Another thing, if you want full brightness, is instead of using a resistor, you can use what's called a current limiter.
Mm-hmm.
It does the same thing, but it's fixed at a specific current. So, like a regular white LED in certain colors draw about 20 milliamps. Some draw a little more. A red LED might draw 25, up to 30 sometimes. So you can get a specific current limiter too. It's just a little 2-lead. I think it's just a little 2-lead device that you solder in, and that's all it needs. It keeps the current flow at a constant state. Because LEDs are really current-driven devices. The voltage is needed to excite the LED flow, but the brightness is controlled by how much current it draws. That's why you put the resistor in to drop your voltage and limit your current as well. If you can do it, if you have, say, 3 volts, you can control the brightness by using a different value current limiter as well. Let's see, we don't have any questions coming in. Everybody's just wishing everybody else a Merry Christmas, and that's what this night's all about, Christmas lighting. But the fiber optics, I think, are a really good option for all kinds of uses in your structures. I mean, you can use them, even just straight fiber. You can buy fiber optic by the roll and do your own. Just cut the length solid seam. What you can do is take the end of them and put them in a piece of heat shrink tubing and put them over the end of an LED and heat shrink it all together, and it'll light the fibers up for you too. So that way you can put as little or as many as you want in there and make up your own fiber bundles. But for $1.30, you're probably better off buying those hair clips and using them,
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to be doing my hair up with them too, I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer.
I shaved most of it off, so there ain't nothing left to put hair clips in. So
you could tie it to your headset there.
There you go. Now see, this begs green electroluminescent wire. That's what this begs. And that's another idea. I just moment of brilliance, Mikey. If you can find a picture, like of say, the old hollow plastic glow-in-the-dark lawn ornaments. If you can find a picture of one of them, you print it on decal film. And there's a couple options you can do. What you do is cut out a piece of thin acrylic, that clear acrylic, the shape of it. But the decal on the front, you can either enclose the edges with styrene or paint it with a good layer of paint and paint the back. And then on the bottom, in 1 or 2 spots, drill a hole slightly in and put a 0402 surface mount LED pointing up into the acrylic, and it'll backlight it. Or you could use electroluminescent sheet and put the decal on the front and have it backlight the decal. Then you just have to again paint the edge, protect the light from bleeding out. But this electroluminescent sheet essentially has phosphor coating that you apply a voltage to, and it makes it glow. And you can get it in wire form down to 1.2 millimeter diameter, or you can buy it by sheet, small sheets. And you just cut it out to whatever shape you want, as long as you have one of the electrodes exposed. You hook it to your power supply that you can buy with it, and then it lights it up really nice. So there's a lot of possibilities in using those kind of technologies as well.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and you can find it in the weirdest of places. I mean, you go through stuff like the Christmas tree shop or Tuesday morning, Marshalls. Like that. You just walk through the aisles. You go browsing. The some decent tree materials and Joanne Fabrics, tree
Yeah,
making
even Michaels
stuff.
or Hobby Lobby too.
Hobby
But like,
Lobby's great.
yeah, like these LED strings, these small ones we showed off tonight, are really brand new this year. This is the first time I've ever seen them. I've seen small, short strings of regular Christmas lights that you can plug in, or were battery operated, but they were regular bulbs. They weren't LEDs like these. So the
Hmm.
LEDs are much better to work with than last year, much longer, and they're dirt cheap. I mean, for $4, I mean you can. I mean, I can do a lot with this, and even if you took two sets and twist them together to have more density of the LEDs, and use them to go across, say, from like one pole to another pole on your street, it works great. I mean, it would look really nice, like old-fashioned, lighting, and heck, you could probably even take like pipe cleaners and wrap them around pipe cleaners and use them for like garland on the street, or even garland around a light post, or a front porch of a house. I mean, look through the craft store. Like Mike said, go through Joint Fabric, Michaels, whatever you mean. You'd be surprised what you might be able to find and use.
Hmm.
Well, here's
It's
sort of
an
the question for
adventure.
Joe G. Let's see what he says. You know of many people that dress up their year-round layout for Christmas? Uh, Not that I've ever really seen, but I mean, some people do scenes on the layout that are winter scenes, so in theory you could do it. I mean, my American Flower layout, I'm planning to have it like a winter time, so I'm planning to have Christmas type lighting and everything. But for this, you could use it like under a Christmas tree layout. I mean,
Yeah, you don't.
I won't have I'll have a small tree under my tree this year, but next year I'm going to build a base and mount track and do it up as a Christmas layout. And you could use for that. You don't necessarily have to use it for your main layout, but say if you have a winter scene, you could use this lighting just in that small area of your layout. Or say you had a mountain, you had it's like a ski mountain or something. Some people might have that are European minded with modeling. You could use lighting like this, like at a ski lodge or something like that. I mean, heck, you could even use the white lights for any kind of string-based LED lighting that you want. It doesn't have to be Christmas lighting. I mean, Christmas lighting, I would tend to push towards a mixture of the white and colored bulbs to add that Christmas feel to it. But certainly these things would be perfectly useful. Say you had, like Mike said, like a used car lot. String these around the outside of the used car lot. It'd be perfect for lighting up the car lot. Or
Oh,
even,
absolutely.
there again, some cities have the light strings across the street all the time, just light bulbs. I've seen some of that out in Colorado and stuff in small towns, like in an open market area or something. So you could use it for that too. I don't know many
Yeah,
people. I mean, have you ever known anybody, Mike, that's done this kind
I'm
of lighting?
thinking, doesn't the Choo Choo Barn have like a little Christmas section on their thing out in Strasburg?
Yeah, I think
I
you're
think
right. I think they
I
do.
think they
Yeah.
do. And the other thing I was thinking of too, some of those shops, like if you go out to these touristy areas, they have like the Santa workshop type store, something like that. They
Yeah.
usually have the Department 56 layout all decked
Hmm.
out for Christmas that runs all year round. So I mean, there are precedents for it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you're really a big fan of Christmas, you want Christmas all year long, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like I said, my American Flower layout. That's why I planned it. Because that's the way I knew it as a kid. I mean, I'm trying to recreate that feel that I had it under the Christmas tree. So either part of it's going to be Placerville, part of it's going to be Department 56, and I plan to use. I'm going to buy some of these after Christmas. When they go on sale, probably half price, and use them for street lighting, light some trees up. I mean, you could even use these like under a passenger shelter or a string of lights, to light. the walkways or something like that. So there's 1,001 uses
Yeah.
on a model train layout, not just for Christmas, but for other things.
Well, that's a real good point too, Barry, because they're very similar to those little like adhesive back LED strips, with the exception of the resistor. But you could probably wire like a group of 3 with a resistor, and they could really just fit in under a passenger car if you're tight for space, or if you're doing N scale or something like that.
No, yeah, you're totally right there. Yeah, they will definitely work in those kind of applications because, like Mike said, I mean, if like this thing here probably doesn't have any kind of resistor unless it's built in, but if you take off 3 of these, it's only that long, not that big. That would be more than sufficient light under a small passenger shelter. But you could also take them and shorten the distance between the LEDs like this by coiling the wire up and bending it. It's solid wire, so you could bend it and lay it flat up inside the roof, or cut and shrink, cut the space between them and resolder, cut it here, and then solder them together. So there's a lot of possibilities to do that, to place it in all kinds of lighting situations.
Yeah,
And
you were
the way
thinking
they're
about
built,
headlights too, Barry.
what's that?
You were thinking of headlights too. Just put like cutting off singles and use them for a headlight. If you're for space, I mean, essentially what you got here, even if you don't do Christmas, or you don't want to do a Christmas tree or a light, these strings are still useful because you have 0402s pre-soldered to small gauge wire that you don't have to solder yourself. You have something that you can actually solder to, without being Joe Pro solder guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, there's about 3 inches between these, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you flip it close to the one end of the LED, then the other that gives you almost 3 inches of lead. So you could take these apart. And I mean, Mike and I have bought surface mount LEDs, the 0402s, from Evans Design, and we had to spend like $200, but we got them for like $1.14 a piece. Well, this set I have is 18 lights, and it's $4. So you're talking a heck of a lot less than that for these,
Mm-hmm.
Well, plus, and if you look how it's done, if you buy an enamel coated wire and want to make like a strand of LEDs for going across your street or wrapping around a tree, if you're good at soldering surface mounts, you could do the same thing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get the LEDs for pennies, and the magnet wire is cheap. So
well, magnet wire could be really cheap too. If you have an old Atlas switch machine, the snap coil machine, you got 2 colors there. You got red and green.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, when you solder surface mounts yourself, which it's hard really, because the mark is not really consistent across different brands of LEDs.
Yeah.
So when you're soldering, you still have to test it to A, make sure it works, but B, to determine the polarity. And with this, it's the same thing. But the nice thing about these strings, other than you don't have to do the hardcore, delicate, fine soldering, is that they're encapsulated. The ones that we got from Evans Design for $1, and they're great. It's a great product, and the nice thing about Evans too is if they fail, they'll replace them for you. But the thing is, with these are a lot tougher, especially when you're stuffing them into a small space, because it's not just the solder, but you have that epoxy coating on the LED itself to keep it all in place.
Yeah, that's very true, Mike, because if you look at one of these up close, you can see the nice size blob of epoxy on there. And if you notice how bright it is, these would probably work great for locomotive headlights. Because it's got a nice body to it to build up the size of the light. So these would probably work really great, like in your headlights, behind your number boards, because it distributes the light some. And these would look banking perfect inside of a headlight of a steam engine.
The other trick too about these LEDs, which is kind of cool, is if you think they're too what's it, the cool white, the warm white, whatever you want to soften the color, you want to tone it down a little bit. You can take like your highlight pen and color it in with your highlight pen. That takes a little bit off. The other thing is the turn signal paint that
For
I
me,
think who has testers.
well,
The
for
orange
me,
turn signal,
well, yeah, Testers does too. It's the
or
turn
Tenaya.
signal amber.
Yeah, yeah, the turn signal amber. That gives you more of a warm, real bulb feel to it. It takes out that sterile, harsh, cool white. You know, so essentially, you don't have to really stock up on warm white and cool white. You can just get the cool white, and you can tone them down with the amber turn signal paint.
Yeah, and that stuff actually works pretty good, especially on older, like using oil lamps. It looks really nice on.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, buying these kinds of LED strings or doing your own LEDs would really work very well for anybody that wants to do all kinds of interesting lighting effects, especially these ones here because they're encapsulated. You couldn't like put them like say in the headlight of an HO scale vehicle, like an O scale vehicle that would be beautiful, or even S scale. But the 0402s are like the most versatile little LEDs out there because they're so tiny. I mean, you can fit them in an HO scale marker lamp, and they work beautifully. You just put some clear gel or clear gems in, for the color of your lenses, and put like a cool white bulb in the back of the marker lamp. It lights them up. Now, what I've done with LEDs for lights like that is use Aleene's clear tacky gel and just fill the lamp up with it, and then push the LED into it, let it tape it or hold it together until it dries. Now you have a nice lens look inside your lamp. Then you could use like a transparent paint of some kind, like even like stained glass paint, like cheap acrylic stuff you get for the little plastic stained glass things for kids. As long as it's a transparent paint, you just color your lenses whatever color you want, like a red lens or green lens, for like different color markers. It will work great. You can do the same with these epoxy caps that you just put any kind of transparent paint on them to give them whatever color you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think one other little things you could use for holiday decorations with lighting.
Well,
Or
my wife and I were talking about like using pipe cleaners to make wreaths and stuff like that. Instead of garlands. She was saying, "Oh yeah, I want the like a wreath on in front of your trolley for under the tree and that kind of stuff." Certainly, these LED strings would look good on the side if you wanted to go that much into decorating your trolley, trolleys or whatever your Christmas trains. There's even Bachman even has a Christmas Thomas with a snow plow and a hat on his stack. I wonder how good that's going to work. You put a hat over his stack, you probably have to cut a little hole in it if you really want to be prototypical. But
put some chimney stains on it.
yeah, right. Or you got to put the screen, make it look like a bear trap or something on
Yeah.
top of the stack. But there's all sorts of stuff you can do.
Yeah, the pipe cleaner idea is definitely interesting for making wreaths or garland stuff. I mean, because you can get it in like all different kinds of colors and textures and stuff. So that would work really well. But like, you can even take like one of those fiber optic sprays and mount it inside the body of your trolley somewhere, and just
Mhm.
drill one hole out the front and fan out the fiber optics into the wreath and make it really look like a lot of tiny little bulbs there. That would look pretty nice, I think.
Yeah. Now the new thing they got out in 1:1 scales, these little LED projectors that they put on the side of the house. I don't know if you've seen that, Barry.
Yeah, I've noticed them this year.
Yeah, they're all funky and stuff, and I'm like thinking they look pretty cool. I'm wondering how we could do that in the smaller scales. and I still haven't really come up with an answer for that.
Well, I mean,
But that's kind of a cool idea because you're not really decorating your structures per se, but you just have like a little projection. You can turn it on when you want it to be festive, you turn it off when you don't. You know, it's just like, you know, like in real life, they hide out there around the walkway,
yeah.
and when they're not on, the house looks like a house, and you turn it on, it looks like Christmas house. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could probably use fiber optics and get either like a super bright LED for the source
Mm-hmm.
or like a laser pointer.
Oh, laser pointer, that's
'Cause
interesting.
that's what they use. They use lasers in those things, I think. That's why they're so
Mm-hmm.
bright on the wall. And
Yeah.
they do something to, I don't know if it moves, I don't know quite how they work, but it's some form of projector using a laser. And
Right, and then they have some sort of diffuser or something, I'm sure.
yeah, I don't know, pattern over it, or they actually move the laser back and forth and turn it on and off. I don't know how exactly they work. But a
Mm-hmm.
laser would be a nice, very bright light source behind fiber optic that you could use. And then if you adjusted, like drilled really close space holes in the fiber optic and glued them in and cut them flush, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you pinch the bundle in the back, it would make the angle of view fan out maybe, and see if it would do that similar effect. That's something you have to experiment with. But with the laser, it would make it work on pretty much any color structure. You know, if you had like white or bright color like green or something like that. If you can
Yeah.
get a laser pointer like that, that's reasonably inexpensive. Like most of the cat and dog toys are red, which would work too.
Yeah, red would work. Um, yeah, certainly that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of lower price, like you said, the hair clips and stuff like that. There's a lot of low price electronics out there that can be adapted for model railroad use. You know, the only thing to really consider is if you move from battery to transformer, you have to do something to protect the circuitry because a lot of it's optimized to be low power circuitry, either a
Yeah,
CMOS or what have you, or if it's LED, it's current hungry. You have to put some sort of protection in it so the LEDs don't just burn themselves out by sucking up too much current.
yeah. So using extended strands like this, a resistor will be your obvious best bet. Because a current limiter, I mean, say three of these LEDs in a row might withdraw 60 milliamps total. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a current limiter to match that. Whereas a resistor doesn't limit the current, it just limits the voltage. So as long as it keeps the 3 volts at that current draw, the resistor is properly sized. So you have to, do your math calculations. If I got 3 LEDs in parallel, now there's going to be 3 times the current. So you have to size your resistor to match that. But with a current limiter, you don't do that. You would buy the current limiter to how much current the circuit would draw, and that's all it does.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, for a big string like this, I don't know if you can buy a current limiter that big.
Yeah,
Not
that's true.
sure.
That's
Resistor
true.
is probably still a better. It's probably a cheaper method of doing it as well. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a good time to get on my LED pulpit too, because if you look at the spreadsheets, they'll say, oh yeah, the current for the LED should use is like, you know, 30 milliamps or whatever, you know,
right,
and the reality is that most LEDs you can start they'll start lighting up around 8 milliamps.
right,
That's the reality. And the thing is, the 30 milliamp figure is kind of like the max that they should be using, or somewhere towards the max. And what you have is usually about 8 or 9 milliamps when the LED first goes on. It's almost at full brightness. So when you go between 8 and 30 milliamps, the difference between, like 8 milliamps versus 10 versus 20 versus 30 milliamps, you really can't see with the human eye. So um, the idea here is to probably go under the spec sheet with that, with the LEDs, because you can actually have them last longer. Not that, even if you run them at spec, they probably would last forever, but,
Yeah.
you run less of a risk of burning them out if there's some sort of surge or anything like that.
True.
But, just the fact that the brightness is really just that not noticeable with the human eye is interesting, because, I mean, if you want to dim an LED, you have to use the pulse width modulation. I mean, I'm sure we talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
because basically you're turning it on and off so fast that it looks like it's dimmer, but
right.
it's really not. 'Cause, I mean, an LED is not truly dimmable.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
basically the way a diode works is when you apply voltage to it, the internal structure of an LED has what's called a barrier voltage. It won't conduct current till you get the voltage above that. Usually it's zero point 0.7 volts. Once you get above that, now it can conduct current. And like Mike said, at a certain given current, now it'll light the LED. But once you get at that point, there's still, you can go all the way to the max rating, and it won't change the brightness very much. So the way to really dim an LED is to turn it on and off so fast that you control how long it's on versus how long it's off. The less time it's on in a given cycle, the dimmer it looks. The longer it's on, the brighter it looks. But that's the only way to do it. You can't actually lower the voltage and make it get dimmer. Because there's such, once it starts conducting above zero point 0.7 volts, it's like off, then on. Period. That's it.
hmm
And same with the current. Once the current flow starts and there's enough current and voltage for it to conduct electricity, that's it. It's on.
hmm
You know.
Yeah, a fun experiment too is if you have an analog dimmer switch in your house, like I have one in the kitchen out here. Put an LED bulb on that circuit and then run the dimmer. And if the dimmer's all the way down, the LED bulb's pretty much at the same brightness as if you run the voltage all the way up. You really can't tell what needs to happen in order for the LED to be dimmed. You need to get a new dimmer. You need to get a digital dimmer that does
Yeah.
the pulse width modulation with the LED bulbs. And the same is on a smaller scale, HO and model trains and such. Um, you know, so I mean, if you accept the fact that you don't have to run your LEDs at full current to get light out of them, if you can accept that fact, which is true, you can experiment for yourself. You can apply the rule of thumb that in 99 times out of 100, if you have a 1K ohm resistor, you just throw that in the circuit and it works.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
as long as it has sufficient voltage and current, it'll work.
mhm.
It's
Yeah. I
really
mean,
hard to make it dim down that much.
right. So, I mean, the rule of thumb is simple. What you do is you find the voltage drop of the LEDs. That's in the spec sheets. Usually it's like 2.5 for red, green, and yellow. Every other color is 3 or 3.5. You can just say 3 for the sake of making your math easy. And what you do is you start with the voltage of your circuit. Like, for example, the decoder outputs 12 volts. You subtract the number of LEDs in series. So if you have 3 white LEDs, you subtract, you track 9 because you have 3 of them, 3 volts. And then what you're left is the 3 volts. That's what your resistor drops. And you do your
Right.
math with that to determine the current drop. And basically you'll see, okay, you got 3 volts, you got 1K ohm, that's, do the math, it's real simple. But
Yeah.
it's like, a handful of milliamps.
Yeah, we've published a lot of those LED formulas in one of the issues of the e-magazine. One issue JD wrote about lighting a train station or train shed up using bulbs, and I did an article on structure lighting using LEDs. And we put all the formulas and stuff in there to calculate your resistor. So if you refer back, can't remember, it was probably like I think it might have been like the second issue of the E-Mag. So it would have been March of last year, or this year, I should say. This is still the first year of the EMAG, so. But yeah, you want to check that out, or else you can Google LED resistor calculator, and there's online things where you can put in your source voltage, the LED's drop voltage, and then it'll give you the resistor value right then and there. So it's pretty easy. Not a lot of mental math you got to do, you know. So we
Hey,
have an
man.
interesting question here from.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes, I think he's talking about the LED, the reels of LED strip lights. They're becoming real popular for lighting layouts up. Um, so, so you're talking a 30-inch wide shelf is what I'm assuming, Curtis. So what matters about the height is those LED strips typically have a 120-degree angle of light dispersion. So, if the light comes on a cone this wide, the coverage, the higher up you go, the wider the coverage you have. So the biggest thing you have to worry about is not so much the coverage, because you can get them up high enough on most layouts to cover your layout, is how many lumens does each strip put out? Because you can get them, the more expensive ones have more LEDs, which gives you more lumens per strip. Lumens is the amount of light output. Therefore, the more lumens, the more light you get on your layout. And what some people typically do is rather than mounting them, let's say here's the top of your level above, rather than mounting them like this, you mount them on an angle like that. That way the light projects this way, so it lights your backdrop and your layout at the same time. So you could say almost like mount them on like a 45-degree angle,
Mm-hmm.
then let it flare out this way. And that way you get good coverage on the backdrop too.
Well, and the added benefit there too is if you don't have a real good fascia on the top deck where you're mounting them, you don't really see the LEDs as much. They're less obtrusive. If you mount them flat on the surface, you'll see the light from the LEDs. And
Especially if they're
sometimes they
further
peek
back
from
in.
under the fascia. So
Yeah,
if you mount them
if you
on an
mount them
angle,
further back into your shelf, when you look at it, you'll see that strip there, just like you would with a light bulb. They're lower
right?
profile, like Mike said, but if you mount them towards the front and tilt them so the shine to the rear, that helps eliminate, one, it keeps the glare out of your face, and
Mm-hmm.
you just see the light on the layout. So that's always an advisable uh, mounting option to use, is mount them on an angle like that. And there's the ones you really want to look at, because you can get them what's called a 50-50. They're a half-inch square LED with three actual LEDs in it. The 35-28 size package tends to give you more lumens than the 50-50 does, especially because you can get them up to 600 lumens for real, which is the ones you want to look for, because they give you twice the light of another reel that's only a little bit more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, see right here, and here's Dwight Christmas says he has three LED strip lights. They're like shop lights. Oh yes, they're from Home Depot. Yeah. I've seen them before. I think Jimmy was using them, weren't you, Jimmy? Yeah, I thought he was looking into those things. Um, Ace Hardware or something had them. They really looked like a fluorescent tube, but they're LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so he said he had three LED strip lights. It looks like shop lights, 7 foot high. Yeah, see there, he put them like regular, like room lighting for a single deck layout. But if you want to do a multi-deck or put like a hood and valance over the action, you could still put them in like you would a fluorescent tube. They would work as well. But I think the LED strips are cheaper option than that. But that definitely gives you plenty of light. He's absolutely right. because they work just like a regular, like a, a 4-foot fluorescent tube. They mount in a similar fixture, but they're LED based instead. Basically, what they have is a strip of LEDs inside. So you're paying for all the sockets and the mounting and all that, whereas you get the reels of LED, you hook them to a 12-volt power supply. They're pretty easy to assemble, and they have self-adhesive strips on the back. So, but worst case, you could caulk them in place too. So, and make sure they have plenty of grip, or even there's mounting holes through the circuitry where I think you can screw them down, right, Mike? On the actual strips, there's mounting holes for screws, right?
I'm not sure about that. Usually they're adhesive back, but you can put like some sort of, if you have a broad staple or something, you can staple them, or you put some sort of, clip on them.
Yeah, staple across the outside edges probably would be okay.
Yeah, as long as you're careful with it, though, too. I mean, you don't want to knock off the LEDs because that'll basically the circuit,
Yeah. And always remember with those LED strips, you can cut them in 3 LED segments. So
right. Yeah. Small. Yeah. There's a little perforation where to cut, and there's also 2 mounting pads, so you can solder new wires to them. So yeah, it's pretty clear. If you don't see the little mounting holes, and you don't see the line going across, don't cut them.
Kurt said right now he's using 8-foot daylight, and they told him there was very little heat. They lied. Yeah, fluorescent tubes still put out heat. He's absolutely right.
Well, it's less heat than if you had incandescents in its place.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true, but it's still heat nonetheless.
Yeah.
And we have an interloper, Mikey.
Really?
Yes. This is a technical show, correct?
Yes.
So, where'd it go? It disappeared. Aha, there. So here's my question. I am having trouble sending emails from my Verizon account. William Graham.
Bill, here, let me answer that for you.
Please do, Mikey.
Change your ISP.
Yeah, really. Go to Comcast. They'll treat you much better than Verizon will, right?
Well, here I work with Verizon on a daily basis, all right, and God love them. There's a handful of good people that work for Verizon. It's just they get kind of lost in the noise.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of Christmas shows, not here. There he is. I'm gonna beat him later. I will beat him later. Me and he was going to have words, buddy. So here's a question from a Maine Trail fan. I don't know how to answer this. I don't know if there's any way to make removable snow. Because no matter what, you're not going to, even if you have something you sprinkled down and vacuumed up, I don't know if you want to get rid of all of it,
Yeah, no, I think snow has to be a commitment. You have to at least commit to it at some level. Yeah. But it's interesting because I saw on what was it Mike Comfort and his videos, he had a thing where he made a snowbank.
Yeah, and I remember
something like that could be removable if you want to do that. And what would probably make sense in that situation, because he was modeling like May.
Modeling May.
Oh no, not May. He was modeling. I think this was Massachusetts. I don't know, somewhere in New England. But it was in like March or April time frame. So you would have some of the remnants of snow. Yeah, and he took the real cheesy the cheesy styrofoam. The real crappy stuff that you push it down, you can compress it.
Yeah.
And what he did is he hit that with like black spray paint, right, while it was big, and then he compressed it into a snowbank shape. So not only did you have the white and the glimmery from the styrofoam, but you had the black, which is the dirt and the grease that would accumulate
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
snowbank. And I thought
Yeah,
that was a
if
really
you
great
used like
technique.
a regular type spray paint, it would deteriorate the foam somewhat too.
Right. So it was just a little flash coat on it, just to
Yeah,
give it that enough of the dirt on it. And then I think after he was done compressing it, he did a little extra weathering with the little
maybe
uh,
talks or something.
dark umber and that just to give it a
Yeah,
little more depth. But the whole way he compressed it and everything else, it really looked like a snowbank that was in the process of melting.
yeah. I mean, you could do stuff like that scattered around your layout like pieces of surface snow.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if you wanted to say cover like a flat area, if you couldn't use something like the woodland scenics material they use for snow and just put it on something like saran wrap where you cut it to shape and just lay it down the layout in patches.
Now that's an interesting idea. I
I
kind of
mean,
like that.
yeah, I don't know how hard it dries,
Hmm. Or
but
if you got like that Elmer's school glue, the school
yeah,
glue doesn't. It's a little more flexible, and you
yeah,
glued it down with the 50 water glue mix of that onto your saran wrap. You
yeah,
should have
yeah,
a lot of flexibility to pick that up. But
yeah,
alternatively, you could do little pop out sections of the layout too, where you just do the whole snow scene.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
when you want the snow scene, you pop it in. When you want something different, you take another thing and pop it in. The only downside there is you're going to need two sets of structures and that kind of.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even with structures, I mean, if you wanted to make pieces of snow laying around the ground and have a little snow in your roof, you could have replaceable roof sections. Or
Mm,
if you can make the ceramic saran wrap where it's flexible enough, you could bend it so it lays over your roof.
yeah.
Might work, you know.
It's worth playing with, but I still think snow is probably a commitment. You have to commit to
Yeah, you either make the commitment or should be committed, one or the
it.
other.
Or both.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you do it judiciously without doing, say, like it was a blizzard, you could probably do it. If it's a fall to winter scene, that's your time frame on your layout. You could get away with a little bit of snow here and there. But yeah, if you're talking, yeah, about a whole snow cover, I don't know if there's any real way to model a whole scene other than, like you said, like removable sections of the layout.
Mhm.
And then
Well,
you're making an investment in extra structures and everything like you said.
now I think one of the things to consider too is maybe snow's a shortcut to getting your layout done quicker because you can just use the plaster and when you do your hard shell, just leave the plaster on and don't even bother to do any scenicking to it. That's basically your snow right there.
Yeah,
Just put a little bit of
yeah,
snow on top of it, right? It's all white.
yeah. I mean, even to make it look a little more textured, rather than using straight plaster, use Sculptamold.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. You could do plaster, sculptamold, any of those white bases. Just put a little bit of the glistening snow on top.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, there's some ideas for your main rail fan. Play around with it. See what you come up with. If you come up with anything that seems to work for you, post it up in the Google Plus forum and Facebook, and let us know how you made out. It'll be interesting to see, if you decide to try any of those techniques. Now, yeah, I did want to ask Mr. Jimmy in Michigan there about his LED shop light, because Johnny, remember, it was him. So, you got a second, Jim, to talk about the lights you got.
I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
We were getting some questions about those LED shop lights that you got. So we were wanting to give us some information how you've made out with them.
Yeah, okay. Let me turn my headphones on because I can't hear you quite as well.
Is that better?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, holy
Good.
cow. Let me turn that down now. Holy cow. See the earmuffs kind of blow out away from my head for a second there? These are the single bulb LED. They have their own built-in fixture. It's like a little end cap at each end, and one end's got a switchable cord on it. And they work good. I just purchased a dual bulb. See if I can turn my camera on so you can actually see it.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. Oops, turn the wrong way. Now this is at Home Depot. These are $40. They're LED,
Nice.
and they put out 18 inches below or 20 inches below. They were putting out 2,000 lumens.
Wow.
Whereas those, at the same distance, are putting out 1,000 lumens.
They're just little LED stick lights, right?
Yeah, they're just, like I say, it's just an LED tube. Looks like a fluorescent tube with a little white cap on each end. It's about an inch or so long. You can kind of see the caps on there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
These are Ace Hardware, $34. Walmart's every once in a while has them on their Great Value brand for about $26.
That's not bad. Actually, it seems to light your room pretty nice.
Right. Like I say, these are about, well, the Ace Hardware, $34 a piece for those. So this is only $6 more. They're quite bright. What's nice about these is you can daisy chain 9 of them together.
Really?
On the other end there is a plug. Let me unzip this. I gotta lay the camera down here. Okay. What they've got is a 14-inch lead
Oh,
that looks like Mickey Mouse plug there.
Oh, wow,
So
yeah.
you can daisy chain them 14 inches apart, or they have a solid piece, so you can daisy chain them to look like 8 foot or whatever before 4 foot. So it looks like a solid fixture.
that's pretty nice.
And like I said, you could go up to 9 lights, and that way you only got to plug in one. And then their little dangle chain there is kind of right in the middle of the light, coming through the lens. There we go.
There you go, yeah.
So for $40 at Home Depot, these are a pretty good value, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jim. That would definitely be something to look into.
I like the light on my workbench. Don't mind the mess because I'm redoing my bench work, but
It's nice and clean looking light.
nice and bright workbench.
Huh.
So I want to get another single to put down there over that end.
Right.
And then I think I'm going to be done with my lighting for a while. But yeah, they were pretty good so far. But these singular tubes over my shoulder, these things, well, I've had them for 8 months, 10 months. Those are 18 watts each.
Huh.
So the 4 of them together, I'm running about 74 watts for the 4 of them.
Like a single light bulb.
Yep. And then, of course, this one's 36 watts. Of course, it's double the LEDs. So.
Yeah.
But my electric usage in here won't be too bad.
No. I'll tell you what, those LED tubes, single tubes like that, you could tuck them very nicely up under a valance on a multi-deck layout, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they would actually work pretty good.
And I'm sure you could probably take off some of that.
The hood.
Yeah, some of that hood, I guess, if you wanted to. I mean, it's one piece. It's all molded one piece up and over. But I
Yeah.
mean, a guy could score that and snap it and.
Oh, so the hood's plastic.
Huh?
If the hood's plastic, then you can just cut
Well,
it.
no, you can score metal.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that is metal. Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's metal. It's 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of hard to do, but you could score it and break it.
Yeah.
But
So,
or you could even bend it down a little bit to beat its own valence a little bit there.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
But yeah, they work good though. They work good.
cool. Thank you, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
So, Bill's got a little note here. So, what's in the works for 2016 for the MRR Tech Show? Right now, we're looking at that we'll be actually going ahead and working with the JMRI guys to handle the JMRI presentations for next year, because we are going to cut back on some of the hangouts.
Barry, your phone's buzzing or something. We can hardly hear you.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Now, yeah, it was totally. You're
Okay.
being overwritten there quite a
I'm
bit.
sorry. So yeah, for next year, it looks like that we will be getting involved with the JMRI guys to handle that piece of the the whole presentation, because we're cutting back a little bit on the actual hangouts. So we're going to be limited to one hangout a month for the JMRI. So Mikey and I will be involved with that, and then we'll have the other guys like Chris Healy and stuff, and Andy and other people getting involved. And once we get into some of the signaling stuff, there's some other people I'd like to see about getting involved. So I know there's, I think it's Josh Signalfan 24. Him and his dad have done soup to nuts with James Ryan signaling on their layout. So I would definitely like to see if he would be interested in getting involved with working with us on that. And then down the road, we'll probably get in, trying to either educate ourselves or find people who understand JMRI operations and do trying everything. Next year is going to be, we're going to try and do a more deep technical dive on these different aspects. What we've done up to so far has been like basic introduction to each of the different pieces and some of the critical things like how to connect your layout to your DCC system with JMRI, the building block foundations and such. But next year we'll get into more of the deep dive of each individual piece. We'll probably go back and review Decoder Pro and talk about, some of the, some of the ins and outs of programming sound engines, get into work with some people do speed matching, then in the layout control, maybe if some LCC products start showing up, we'll probably touch on LCC, signaling, operations. So we got a lot of possibility. If you want to try and cover as much about JMRI as we can in a fairly cohesive manner, so that you could literally watch the Hangouts from beginning to end and have a really good series of instructions on how to use JMRI. And what we'll do is, as we get more focused and deep dive on the individual topics, we'll try and break them out into playlists for, say, signaling, for advanced programming, for operations, and break them up that way. So if I want to learn signaling, I can go to the signaling playlist for JMRI and watch all the Hangouts. And we'll try and get as much, like we've been doing, with the hands-on demonstrations of things. So that's what the plans are right now. We're putting the finishing touches on some of this stuff early on in the start of the year. So, and that it will work much nicer for us. Let's see, what else we got in the list here before we end up for the night. Curtis was saying, do the LED lights have to have their own fixtures? No, from what we've seen on Jimmy's layout there, Curtis, the stick lights have their own connections on the end. The other one looks like the traditional shop light, but it comes with the fixture. And then Yeah, now here's like Chris was talking about the JMRI sounds good, especially about engine programming and sound file manipulation. Yeah, that's something that we might toss in there for you
Well,
Digitrack guys is how to,
yeah.
sound loader.
The thing is with programming is really cool because you can do a lot with the programming.
Yeah.
But the sound files, basically what you do is you kind of have to wait because the interface is really slow. When you think about trying to get that sound file from your computer through all the different interfaces, then into that decoder. So the majority of the time doing that is just kind of sitting there and watching it, you know,
There
have a
might
little like
that might be an interesting time to maybe talk to John McMaster.
yeah.
He's the Digitrex guru for custom sound projects. This
Hmm.
man has done more work to build up the quality and the amount of different sound files um, for Digitrack sound decoders. And I have to admit, his work is far superior to what they give you from the factory. So there might be someone to reach out to and see if he'd be interested in coming on board.
Yeah, it might be interesting to talk to ESU as well, Barry, because they have a lot of sound files as well.
Yeah, that's true. They're another one where you can program sound, and that there probably Alex could help us with that.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
Alex, from
yeah, he's
Cincinnati,
more European.
AKA the Crazy Russian.
Yep.
Yeah, he definitely knows all about the ESU and the European type coder. So definitely something to look into talking to him. Yeah, so like Bill mentioned, another thing here is, we will be working with the guys who started the JMRI presentations, like Chris Healy here and Andy Crawford and stuff. We will be keeping them definitely in the loop here as far as, everything to do with JMRI for next year. So, all right. I think that's about pretty good. I think we got everything we wanted to cover tonight, plus a little bit of tasty extra. So I want to thank everybody for watching the tech show this whole year and participating in everything YouTube model builders related. Watching the live show Tuesday and Thursday night hangouts. I definitely want to thank my buddy Mikey here for coming along for the ride. Me and him
Fun,
are
brother.
we're like inseparable when it comes to model railroading stuff. So it's definitely fun to have him along. And since we're both computer geeks and very tech savvy with this stuff, we definitely will bring you a deep dive perspective on a lot of crazy stuff. I imagine a lot of what we'll do next year will be JMRI related, but I'm sure we'll get time to break out a show or two here or there to do something different if we find something really interesting. So,
That definitely will be a fun ride.
oh, absolutely.
Go, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll try and keep her steered on a straight and narrow. As Jimmy Buck would say, keep between the buoys.
Hey, Barry, I have opened up an after-show hangout on the General.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Well, folks, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Enjoy your holidays, spend time with your families, and get back to model railroading after the new year starts and throw some gusto into it and get some projects out there. And who knows, you could be picked for being on a live show. So, all right, Mikey, thank you, sir. I'll be talking to you soon. Merry Christmas to everyone, and we will catch you next year, folks. Good night, everybody.
All right.